Live from WTOC, the Southeast News leader. The News Now starts on WTOC Plus.
Welcome to The News on WTOC Plus. I'm digital anchor Jude Binkley. This afternoon, crews with the Chatham County Fire Department were on scene of a structure fire that left 2 people without a home. Take a look at this video from the Chatham County Fire Department of their crews arriving to the structure on Hickory Grove Way around 12:30 this afternoon. This happened just about an hour and a half ago. They say that multiple units responded, and when they got there, crews found visible smoke and flames coming from the garage of the building. You can see some of that smoke on your screen right now. CCFD says that quick fire suppression was able to help stop the spread. However, 2 people and 3 pets have been displaced from the fire, and the Red Cross has been notified. Well, the mother of a student at Ladies Island Middle School has filed a lawsuit against the Beaufort County School District after the student allegedly had her fingertip severed on school property. Here's what we know. The lawsuit alleges on January 25th, 2024, Shamika Freeman's daughter was returning to her classroom after using the bathroom when another student closed the heavy door shut, which crushed her left hand. The accident severed the student's ring finger on her left hand, which resulted in fractures and a partial amputation of the fingertip. The lawsuit goes on to say district employees threw the student's severed fingertip in the trash. Because it wasn't preserved, the fingertip couldn't be reattached during surgery. According to the lawsuit, the Beaufort County School District was, quote, negligent, careless, willful, wanton, reckless, and or grossly negligent in regard to the situation by failing to maintain a safe environment and properly monitor students. Freeman is asking for a jury trial and is seeking to recover up to $300,000 in compensation and punitive damages. Well, McIntosh County voters made their voices heard last night on Sapelo Island. They voted overwhelmingly to repeal changes to the county's zoning ordinance that would have allowed the size of homes to double. With all precincts reporting, 1,584 people voted to repeal the ordinance, with 285 voting no, a very sizable difference in last night's election. The McIntosh County Board of Elections says turnout was about 19%. It's the culmination of years of work by activists after the County Board of Commissioners changed the zoning rules back in 2023. The Gullah Geechee community in Hog Hammock said the zoning changes could have raised property taxes and costs and forced longtime residents out. Residents gathered enough signatures to trigger yesterday's special election. They also succeeded in a legal challenge by the county that reached the Georgia Supreme Court. Well, January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month across the United States. It is a problem in all states, including right here in Georgia. Now, Georgia saw more than 300 acts of human trafficking in 2024. That was a slight decrease compared to the year before, but incidents have been on the rise since 2021. That's why Georgia has a specialized team dedicated to prosecuting human traffickers and helping survivors. It's based in Atlanta, but works around the state. Now, this morning, leaders gathered at the Atlanta airport to highlight ongoing efforts to prevent trafficking and support survivors. Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens joined airport leaders and law enforcement to share updates on current initiatives, especially ahead of the city's hosting of the World Cup.
Fan and every traveler to our city knows how to report their concerns, whether to law enforcement or to local and nonprofit hotlines and national hotlines as well. Because when the world turns its attention to Atlanta, the world will be met with the strongest possible commitment to safety and human dignity.
There is a 24-hour anonymous tip line to report any suspicions of human trafficking. Help is available in 170 languages, and it's run by a nonprofit. You can see that number on your screen right now, 1-866-END-HTGA. Staying in state news, bracing for snow, sleet, and freezing rain. Georgia's preparing for a potentially historic ice storm moving in this weekend. We should note that Middle Georgia appears to be the most impacted. We're not necessarily tracking any snow on the coast right now. That could always change in the coming days. Officials do warn, though, that impacts could be widespread and there could be major impacts for millions across the South.
As always, our state team will be pre-treating and preparing for the worst and hoping for the best.
The WTOC weather team will be tracking the storm system as it spreads across Georgia. To get up-to-date information as soon as it becomes available, you can head on over to the WTOC weather app. Well, the American Red Cross has declared a severe blood shortage. The organization says the blood supply is 35% below where it should be. Blood is given to patients during emergencies, surgeries, and childbirth. It's also given to people with blood disorders like sickle cell disease and to those being treated for cancer.
Hospitals, the demand is high, and all of the blood centers around the country were not able to keep up with the demand. So we really need folks who are able to consider, donating blood, helping to save a life.
Platelet donations as well as all blood types are needed, but the Red Cross says they're especially in need of type O, which is the universal blood type. In political news, President Trump reiterated his determination to take control of Greenland during his highly anticipated address at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland. The president started his speech by touting the administration's agenda on the economy, but then pivoted to a topic that has triggered an international standoff. Natalie Brandt has more details from the White House.
Would you like me to say a few words of Greenland?
President Trump took the stage in Davos with his push to acquire Greenland looming over the international conference.
It's the United States alone that can protect this giant mass of land, this giant piece of ice, develop it and improve it.
During his address, he didn't hold back, saying the island is critical for U.S. national security, adding he wants immediate negotiations.
This would not be a threat to NATO. This would greatly enhance the security of the entire alliance.
The president said for the first time he would not use force.
I don't have to use force. I don't want to use force. I won't use force.
But he also issued this warning.
You can say yes, and we will be very appreciative, or you can say no, and we will remember.
President Trump is expected to have a number of meetings with European leaders who have been standing with Denmark in opposition to his Greenland plans. During his speech, the president took swipes at Europe and NATO.
We'll be there for them 100%, but I'm not sure that they'd be there for us. If we gave them the call, gentlemen, we are being attacked.
NATO's Secretary General Mark Rutte has tried to de-escalate tensions.
I think President Trump is right. Other leaders in NATO are right. We need to defend the Arctic. We know that these sea lanes are opening up. We know that China and Russia are increasingly active in the Arctic.
Danish officials are not attending the World Economic Forum, but the Prime Minister said while the country is ready to discuss security, negotiating sovereignty is off the table. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, the White House.
Well, with the end of healthcare tax credits now bringing up the costs of plans under the Affordable Care Act, we're seeing the longer-term effects of that decision in Congress. Gunter Schroeder with our sister station tells us about some of the folks here in the South who are now being forced to make risky decisions when it comes to their health care.
I empathize with them because it's hard. This isn't the only bill that they're facing that's increasing.
The new reality of healthcare costs has hit home for brokers and families.
It's harder to sit down with a client and explain the cost. It's hard for me as a consumer to sit down and look at my plan last year and the year before and say I'm getting the same plan, but I'm paying a lot more.
And for those on low income in the CSRA, the safety net of subsidized health care has disappeared.
We have a higher concentrated percentage of people who are affected immediately. And so that does definitely present a challenge for us. When you're getting health insurance when you're low income because of the subsidy, and then the subsidy changes to where you can't, that's when people fall into a hole.
And options are also limited for the many small businesses locally.
The problem with group and why some of these smaller businesses can't get into the group is because it costs too much for the employer. If you're empowering business owners to grow a stronger workforce through offering benefits, all pre-tax, it's going to give them more advantages in the workplace.
With no long-term solution in sight, brokers are unified in their hope for something short-term.
I do hope to reach out to a lot of small businesses and make them aware of the individual coverage health reimbursement arrangements. If people have more money at the end of the month because the premiums are more affordable, then they have more to support local business.
To take the pressure off the people.
Staying in health news, with the end of these with the end of the tax credits, one thing that we are noticing in the wake is apologize, one moment, I've messed up my script a little bit. We should note that
with them.
One doctor at a hospital in Augusta, I apologize, this plays into rural healthcare, is using telehealth to virtually reach patients in other parts of the state. This is all in efforts to expand access to rural healthcare through some federal funds for folks who may not otherwise have healthcare access, because Georgia is set to receive more than $200 million in the first year of a new 5-year rural health transformation program.
Structure, invest in technology, invest in things that we may not have been able to do because we have lost funding in other ways over the course of the last few years.
And for patients in rural Georgia, that could mean fewer miles on the roads and faster access to the care they need. Turning now to sports news this morning, the younger brother of the Heisman winner, Fernando Mendoza, is transferring to Georgia Tech. Reports say Alberto Mendoza is heading to the Flats. He played behind his brother at Indiana during the team's historic national championship season. The younger Mendoza brother threw for 286 yards and 5 touchdowns this season. He'll have 3 years of eligibility left. Well, an elementary school in Decatur is marking its 100th day of school, a very fun milestone that typically marks the halfway point of the school year. Celebrations often focus on math and literacy, all things 100, and sometimes, as Madeline Montgomery found out, there's a classroom surprise.
For the 100th day of school, most kindergartners decided to bring 100 objects, but KJ Schmansky decided to bring her 100-year-old great-grandfather.
I was born October the 8th, 1925 in Grant Park. Well, not in the park, but...
For KJ Schmansky and her classmates at St. Thomas More Catholic School, this was a show and tell to remember.
Is he the oldest guy you know?
Yes. Kindergartners dressed as centenarians as Sonny Reagan showed his great-granddaughter's class a life well lived.
They asked them questions like, what were different from now and then?
Did I have a car? Were they grocery stores?
Other than 3 years in the U.S. Navy, Reagan has lived in Atlanta his entire life.
It's been a big, big change for somebody 100 years old.
What's kept him going for 100 years?
Wash your hands.
He says it's faith and family.
I'm not good with that many words, but she's the best. I tell you, I love her with all my heart. And I think she loves me the same way.
Amen. Faith, family, and love that bridges generations. Mr. Reagan says that he plans to live to 105 to keep watching his great-granddaughter grow up.
Very cute. I admire the outfit as well, dressing up like her great-grandpa. That's really something else. All right, well, if you're looking for something to do this weekend, the 25th Annual Savannah Home and Garden Show returns January 23rd through the 25th at the Savannah Convention Center. The best part of it, admission is free. Expect design inspiration, home improvement ideas, and live demos from Georgia native Michael Seward, plus cooking shows with Jesse Blanco. Be a pretty fun way to kick off your weekend and stay inside, especially with the cold temperatures we'll be dealing with. All right, here's a unique one on WTOC Plus. Small retail shops in New York often employ some unusual workers. They're bodega cats, and their job is to keep rodents away. Lindsay Tuckman shows us a new bill that's aimed at helping take care of the feline workforce.
Lydia Aguabia works at the flower stand at Clinton Fruit Market on 47th and 9th in Hell's Kitchen. Her partner in crime is the bodega's resident cat, Pancha.
Animals are love, animals are happiness, and animals has to be a responsibility for everyone.
Pancha and the rest of the city's likely thousands of bodega cats are the reason behind a proposed bill in the state legislature that would establish official health and safety guidelines for cats living in retail food stores. Standards like regular vet checkups, vaccines, and designated cat zones separate from food prep areas. Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal, who represents the Upper West Side, introed the bill last spring, and it was moved to the Agriculture Committee just this month.
If you adopt an animal from the shelter, they have to be spayed or neutered. No telling where those kitties come from that live in bodegas, but just to make sure. I mean, they work. Keeping mice and other vermin away, but they should also have access to a good place to rest, good food, water.
This proposal is separate from city legislation introduced last year that would ease enforcement for stores with cats, which under current health codes are technically not allowed. For New Yorkers who love bodega cats, they hope if the bill passes, the state makes it easy for small business owners to pay for health care.
Maybe they can't afford it, maybe, I don't know. But it's something that they could probably make a collection, or some people could voluntarily help out.
The bill still needs to go through hearings and a vote before anything becomes a law. But one thing is for sure, these guys aren't going anywhere. It's just a matter of if and how they're regulated.
All right, so I live in Pooler, and at my apartment complex, there's a bunch of just kind of community cats that live around. I always joke around and say that they work with the leasing office. They're really cute. I don't have any pets myself, but I keep a bunch of cat treats in my my cupboard, and anytime I go out to get the mail, I'll take a handful, and the cats will always run up to me. We've got like 5 or 6 in our apartment complex. So it kind of reminded me of that. All right, staying in animal news, you know that feeling when you have an itch that you just can't reach? Well, a clever cow in Austria found a solution and just swept it away. Meet Veronica, a 13-year-old Swiss brown caught on video picking up a broom to reach those tricky spots, switching scratching techniques depending on where the itch is. Researchers say her behavior is rare, surprising, and smarter than anyone could have expected.
There are around 1.5 billion of cows and bulls in the world, and we are only now starting to recognize that they are able to use tools.
Veronica's owner says her cow has been inventing and refining her tool techniques for 9 years. It all started with picking up fallen tree branches to get the job done. All right, and with that, we're going to wrap things up here for the news on WTOC Plus. Thanks for spending part of your afternoon with us. We'll be back in 40 minutes for Welcome to Our Community with Dawn Baker at 3 o'clock. And in the meantime, you can always head on over to our website to catch the latest updates at WTOC.com. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and here's Local News Live.